It is a lovely, lovely afternoon right here on Radio Christian Voice. 14:06 is the time. Welcome to this special program brought to you courtesy of the Lusaka City Council in collaboration with the Lusaka Water Security Initiative. Right, so the airing of the programs are financially supported by DFID and GIZ. Now, tomorrow, Friday, 13th December 2019, is a special day as the city of Lusaka will witness the launch of a new water security agenda for the city. What is the new water security? Where is it coming from? And what does it aim to achieve? These and many other questions are what this program will be looking at this afternoon. Joining me in the studios are representative from the Lusaka Water Security Initiative, which is a collaborative multi-stakeholder platform and advancing water security for Lusaka and the engagement of the communities in development. My guests this afternoon are Mr. Robin Farrington, Country Coordinator, Natural Resources Stewardship Program at GIZ, and Mr. Muyiluka Kibisa, Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company. A very big welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get in what we are talking about today. First things first. The new security agenda for Lusaka is coming from different efforts embarked on over the last 2 years. Now, underwater security and sanitation plan. Briefly explain to us what the water security and sanitation plan is all about. I'll start with you, Mr. Farrington.
Thank you. So the Water Security Action and Investment Plan is a plan that has come together, a planning process that's come together over the last 2 years by the 25 partners of the Lusaka Water Security Initiative. It's been led by Lusaka City Council and Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company. And the idea of this planning process is to basically come out with a committed, holistic plan to improve water security throughout the city and to, at the same time, empower stakeholders to take forward that plan.
All right, I'll ask the same question to you, Mr. Kibisa. Just briefly explain to us what this water security and sanitation plan is all about.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The Water Security Action and Investment Plan is a multi-stakeholder approach of trying to solve the water problems that Lusaka has been facing. It focuses on key areas that are under the Lusaka Water Security Initiative, which are groundwater protection, that is preventing pollution and preventing over-exploitation of groundwater, as well as the sustainable utilization of the Kafue River, so that it's a healthy Kafue River, and also water supply and sanitation. Those are the key focus areas of the security plan, which we have focused, and we have developed solutions that will be setting the agenda up to the year 2035. So the focus is to bring everyone on board. As you know, there is a theme that we are running under saying, leaving no one behind. So we want everyone to be on board, the private sector, the communities, the public sector, and all these other institutions that can participate in making Lusaka a water secure city.
All right, in case you just tuned in, this is Radio Christian Voice. My name is Lewis, and we are looking at the launch of the new water security agenda for the city today on Radio Christian Voice, and I am joined in the studio by Mr. Robin Farrington, the country coordinator for Natural Resources and Stewardship Program at GIZ, and Mr. Muyiluka Kibisa, Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company. I would like to know, all right, what are some of the projects and components under WISEP, and how have these been implemented, and who has been involved in the implementation of these projects? Mr. Farrington.
Thank you. So there's three components under the Water Security Action Investment Plan, and these have been around trying to understand the information that my colleague was just referring to around groundwater, around the state of the Kafue River, around urban growth, etc. So what does this mean looking forward in future? how might this impact the city under different scenarios? So we've looked at what could be the gap between the demand for water and the supply of water in the city. We've looked at how people could be affected by flooding. We've done modelling on this. So we've tried to understand, but with analysis, with using evidence-based on what could actually be the future water security situation of the city. And then we've turned that into looking at what are the root causes of some of these problems. What are the issues there underlying? Why is groundwater being polluted so badly? We know pit latrines are a massive issue. We know that solid waste is also causing issues. We know that some industrial pollutants are entering the groundwater as well. So when we analyse that in more detail, then we come up with a strategy moving forward of how we can actually overcome this. And this is what the water security agenda you're referring to is coming out of. Secondly, there's a whole component around community engagement and empowerment, because we know if communities aren't empowered, then we'll never improve water security in the city, because ultimately it's the action of the individual that counts and the collective action. So a lot of work has been done led by Lusaka City Council to empower communities and develop ward development committees in that sense.
All right. I know we were supposed to explain what GIZ is and what they're all about. Maybe for the interest of the public, they would like to know what GIZ is. What is GIZ?
Thank you. So GIZ is the German International Cooperation Agency. It's based in 130 countries around the world and has about 20,000 people working for it. In Zambia, we focus, it's a government-to-government aid from the German government, and we do the technical assistance part of that. So we work on good governance, we work on agriculture, we work on water, and these are the main focal areas. So I think GIZ have been operating here for over 40 years.
Awesome. If you're in Lusaka, you are catching us live and direct on 106.1 FM, and as well as in Chipata, it's 106.1 FM. In Livingston and in Dola, it is 98.9 FM. In Kaprimposh, it's 101.1 FM. And you can also stream us live by visiting our website. That's www.rcvoice.co.zm. Click on the listen live link and you'll be able to listen to us. Today I'm joined in the studio by Mr. Robin Farrington, Country Coordinator, Natural Resources Stewardship Program at GIZ, and he's briefly explained to us what GIZ is all about and what they're doing. And Mr. Muyaluka Kibisa from Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company. Mr. Kibisa, any key highlights from the implementation of the WISP, and you may also reflect around these achievements and or less for the benefit of the public.
Thank you very much. The process has been an engagement process which started with key stakeholders in the water sector as well as in the public sector. So the strategy has been to coordinate these efforts of various partners who lie within certain mandates, like Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company. We had WAMA also in the City Council. These coordinated leading on the various mandates that they have. As Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company, we are mandated to supply water and sanitation services to the city of Lusaka. So that was our key focus, and we are leading to all the activities related to water security, developing solutions in terms of water supply, solutions in terms of groundwater protection, looking at how vulnerable our sources are, and also trying to see how we can scale up and make the city secure in terms of water. So the project has been so much intensive, such that we've developed certain solutions that will be proposed, and they will be in forms of projects. Initially we developed about 5 concepts that will be developed into full proposals. Then we went to about 20 of them. Now they have gone up to about 35 solutions that can be done in order for us to achieve a secure city in terms of water. So the participation has been so intensive. We worked hand in hand with WAMA in looking at one of our key sources of water that provide about 20% of the supply to the city of Lusaka, by looking at the vulnerability, the key elements that are threatening those two sources, and trying to see and coming up with solutions on how we can protect these sources of water. Shaft 5 and mass media is one of the locations where, under this program of the WASIP, we are able to fence off mass media as well as fence off Shaft 5. And also through the City Council, we are able to engage communities around these boreholes to see how they can participate and to make sure that these sources are protected from the communities themselves, even to those who are benefiting from the water sources. So there are a lot of efforts that we've done. We've also developed a data repository that will provide data to those who need to look at water in the city of Lusaka by developing story maps. Digital Atlas is a web-based application where you can log in and look at the maps, see how the flood situation in Lusaka is, see how the boreholes are, how the vulnerabilities. If you want to drill a borehole, which areas should you focus on, and all those issues. So that was one key area that we focused, seeing that data is usually difficult for people to come up with. So we said we can put it in one place where people can access it and get that information, and it is a continuous updating process that goes on that platform.
All right, so tomorrow, Friday, 13th December 2019, is a special day as the city of Lusaka will be witnessing the launch of a new water security agenda for the city. Let's go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking more about this. Don't go anywhere.
Giving is not just about making a donation. It's about making a difference. One of the best feelings in the world is giving. With just one act of kindness, you can inspire others to go out and plant seeds.
All right, welcome back to this special program brought to you courtesy of the Lusaka City Council in collaboration with the Lusaka Water Security Initiative. Now, I must make mention of this. The airing of this program, or these programs, are financially supported by the DFID and GIZ. Now, we briefly explained what GIZ is all about, all right, and we are supposed to zero in into what will be happening tomorrow, but perhaps we can talk about Louise. How do you call it? Is it Louise, my name, or
Lucy?
Lucy. All right. So for someone that is tuning in for the very first time and they don't know what Lucy is all about, what is Lucy all about?
So Lucy is a multi-stakeholder partnership, and it's got 25 partners from the public sector, private sector, civil society, and international organizations. So partners like Lusaka City Council, NOASCO, the water supply regulator, the Lusaka Water, these are the public partners on there. Private partners, we have Zambian breweries, Coca-Cola, Zaki, the Chamber of Commerce. So, and we have many, many other partners on board. And the idea is the partners are coming together to form what's called a collaboration system. So how can the partners work together more effectively in the city to improve water security? And that's really the goal. How can we improve water security for people and for businesses, that Lusaka will grow as a healthy and prosperous city? And that's the vision of Lucy, that there's water security for all, for a healthy and prosperous city. Now, it does that through several means. One means is that it works on information. As my colleague Kibisa was just saying, one of the key things is information. We don't understand water security very well. Underground water is very complicated, it's very hard to understand. Even people who've drilled a borehole will know. You can drill one place, have a dry hole, 5 meters away you can have a wet hole. It's extremely complex to understand how we're influencing this very important resource. Secondly is around influencing behavior and trying to get people to be better stewards of the environment and of their city. How can we encourage people to be a better steward, not just of water, but also of the environment? Are they dropping their waste in the ditch, or are they putting it in a bin? What are they doing with their old oil from their car? Are they just pouring it down a drain so it goes into groundwater, or are they taking it somewhere to be recycled or reused? So these are the kind of things around stewardship. The third area is around very concrete projects, and Kibisa was just talking about one of these, protecting Lusaka Water's boreholes that supply around 300,000 people with water. So these are the areas that Lucy's focusing on as concrete action or functions of Lucy to make a change.
All right, I'm tempted to ask this question though. Is there any deliberate move to sensitizing people on how they should keep, not only their environment but the water table, and how they should just be healthy in terms of water sanitation in Lusaka, Mr. Kibisa?
Yeah, there are deliberate things that we've done in Lucy, trying to enhance people to change their behavior. Because what we've said that actually behavioral change may be there, but we need to empower these communities And how do we empower them? That's a process that we are going through the city council. So it's telling people, trying to realize that they've got rights, but those rights come with obligations that they have to perform as citizens. And these, they also impact on the environment. So ultimately, when we take it in that approach, people realize that these rights that we have, they come with obligations that we have to perform. I shouldn't throw garbage around. I shouldn't maybe pollute, misuse water. All those things people will be able to understand when you tell them their responsibilities in terms of rights. So that's one approach that we've used to engage communities and educate them. And also on the private sector, we've tried to engage them and try to see how vulnerable our resources and how key it is an asset for us as Lusaka to the economic development, and trying to teach them how to utilize it in a very sustainable way. Like Lusaka Water, we are developing processes that will sustain our production to use the water efficiently. So one of the sustainable approaches that we are using is sustainable groundwater use. So even on our sites, we are trying to develop on, improve on processes, improve on information that will help us handle these sources of water. So as you can see, the key element actually is information that we don't have. It's not only people but institutions as well, like Lusaka Water and the private sector. They need to understand how the water is being impacted by various activities which are actually far from water itself. So the approach is to touch on many areas of people's lives that will ultimately impact on water.
Awesome. Now, before we went on a break, we talked about the lessons for the benefit of the public, the achievements, and all these things that you mentioned before we went on a break. But speaking of those same components and areas of which, WISE has previously focused on, who do these now link to the development of a new water security agenda for Lusaka, which will be launched tomorrow, Friday, 13th December? Mr. Farrington.
Yeah, thank you. So the goal of the new water security agenda is that we're improving multi-stakeholder collaboration and the empowerment of citizens to improve water security and to deepen good governance for a broader, inclusive and sustainable socio-economic development. So the idea is really, how can we, from the water security plan, from what we've learned and understood, how can we move forward now with a new agenda which is really based around collaboration? It's around the human rights-based approach, which means, as Kibisa was saying, understanding that there are duty bearers and there are rights holders, building up capacities at all levels to act. And that means that the communities are working with the government and with the businesses together on one common agenda. We all need water. We need a water secure city, and it's not really about one securing the water before another, because we all depend on each other as well. So if we work together more collaboratively on this common agenda, we're much more likely to achieve it than if we're working in silos. And that's the very birth of Lucy, was that in 2015 stakeholders were recognizing we cannot continue to work in silos like we have been. We have to come together, join hands and work on a common agenda. So that's been an accumulation of a process over 4 years to get to this point.
All right, if you just tuned in, you are listening to a special program. It's Community Engagement Empowerment Program. And of course, it's brought to you courtesy of the Lusaka City Council in collaboration with the Lusaka Water Security Initiative. And the airing of this program is financially sponsored or supported by DFID and GIZ. All right, and today we're looking at the launch of the new water security agenda for Lusaka City, and it's going to be taking place tomorrow, 13th December 2019. Now, the launch takes place tomorrow. Where exactly, what time, and who is invited? Mr. Kibisa.
The launch will be at the Lusaka City Council at Nakatindi Hall. Various partners have been invited to attend from 09 to 12 hours. So, and also those who have participated, who have funded the project, they also come to see the water security agenda. And we'll have various key ministry participating, the mayor himself of Lusaka, and the permanent secretary for water development. So these are some of the people that will be found there to go and attend and see how we are launching this key water agenda, which is very important for the city of Lusaka.
All right, I'm also tempted to ask this question. You know, when we say there is there's a launch that is taking place. People might think perhaps there's a charge that is affiliated to, to them being a part of that particular event. Is there any charge to this?
So the event is, we have to limit numbers because we've been engaging 12 communities intensively. So there's ward development committees developed in 12 communities that will be coming, and the stakeholders that Kibisa mentioned. So we've limited numbers, and that way we can make the event free of invitation only.
Okay.
So, but there will be a very good media coverage there by radio and television. So we expect the message to get out and the proceedings to be widely disseminated.
All right, I needed to put that across so that people can know that there's limited space and it's per invitation. But in case you just tuned in and you're within Lusaka, you are listening to us on 106.1 FM. And in Livingston and Ndola, it is 98.9 FM. In Solwezi, it's 106.5 FM. And in Kapiriposhi, it's 101.1 FM. You can always stream us live by simply visiting our website. That's www.rcvoice.co.zm. Go to Facebook right now. We're live, and do drop your comments. And we might just say hi to you. All right. Today's program is Community Engagement Empowerment, and we are looking at the launch of the new water security agenda for Lusaka, which will be taking place tomorrow, the 13th of December 2019. And in the studios today, I am joined by Mr. Robin Farrington, the Country Coordinator, Natural Resources Stewardship Program at GIZ, and Mr. Muyuluka Kibisa, Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company. And we've talked about quite a number of things. But I know any launch is celebratory because it means a new thing, or indeed continuity, as may be the case for most of the Lusaka Water Security Initiative partners and communities. But what does this mean for an ordinary citizen in Baoleni, Kamanga, Chainda, Chalala, or Matero? What are the benefits out of the launch of the new water security agenda, Mr. Farrington?
So at the heart of the new water security agenda is the empowerment of communities, and I think this is really important to note that this is not just a piece of rhetoric, or this is like something we want to launch and go back. This has actually already been happening. So 12 wards have had ward development committees develop now, and they're developing local area plans. So 5 have been written, and a further 7 will be developed very shortly. And these we've had about 500-600 community members orientated around the roles and responsibilities of the wards. We've had about 460 community facilitators trained in 12 wards, representing 2 respective zones. So the council have been extremely proactive in leading this process, and I think those in those communities know about the ward development committees. They know that they now have a voice, that they can talk to the council directly and the councillors about certain issues. It might be solid waste, it might be sanitation, it might be flooding, it might be crime. There are many issues coming out there, way beyond just water as well. And I think that's the critical recipe for success, is that the empowerment of communities to hold duty bearers to account, to deliver services to what they need, but also to take responsibility and hold each other to account. Is someone doing something in the neighbourhood that they know that's going to be polluting the groundwater? And if so, they need to be held to account. And that doesn't rely then on waiting for Lusaka City Council to come and regulate them, but actually as a community they can self-regulate each other as well. So these types of actions, this type of empowerment, the power that the communities now have to determine their own plans and help to manage their own development is been at the heart of this process.
All right, I would like to ask though, what are some of the challenges that you have faced from inception of this particular agenda, and how have you overcome those challenges, Mr. Farrington, or perhaps Mr. Kibisa? Maybe the two of you can answer that question actually.
Thank you very much for that question. It has been a very intensive process to bring everyone on board, to engage each other and to start talking as you know, we've been working differently, especially from the public sector point of view. You find this one is doing that thing there, this one is doing that thing there. So bringing all these key stakeholders together, like Lusaka Water and Storage Company, the city council, the private sector, bringing them on one platform for them to start talking, so that when I want to do something, we are planning within a coherent plan that we have developed for the city of Lusaka. So we brought everyone on board and we started the process of looking at water security. So we said we can only be right in our water security when we develop an action and investment plan in terms of water security. So when we brought everyone on board, things started peeling in and things started moving forward. So bringing everyone on board has been challenging. It's one of the hurdles that is there. Also, in terms of community engagement, I think it's a process which has been intensive, especially for the city council, for them to move from ward to ward and from other places. And also, financing is one key area which has been a challenge, which I think this process can only be sustainable if we as citizens, we can take up the responsibility as is being seen through the process of empowerment. People are beginning to realize that they've got responsibilities. They have to perform their rights. People even within communities, we are not talking to each other, but now they can engage. They should have structure to talk to each other, to engage. They don't need money to talk to one another on how they should behave, where they should throw waste, who shouldn't vandalize that pipe. So it's how people should talk. And also, if they come to Lusaka Water, who should they see? They should be able to engage also. When they go to City Council, who should they engage? If they go to WAMA and other various platforms of where they should receive a service. So this has been an intensive process, and people have started realizing their roles that they can play to better the city of Lusaka. So it's not only the financing, but also the capacities in terms of the community that they should be able to engage.
All right, Mr. Farrington.
Okay, I think on top of what my colleague is saying, that one of the key areas that we had hoped to have easier from the start was the access of information. And I think this is a big lesson that a lot of the analysis is not being done on the value of water. And I think water has got to be one of the most undervalued commodities on this planet. If you think how much we take water for granted until it's not there, and then we suddenly realize we can't wash our hands, we can't cook, we can't drink. And I think what's critical as we move forward to overcome that is to try and do the right kind of analysis to say, look, if the groundwater in this city was to run out, 85% of water use in the city is underground water. If that water was to get too polluted to use or to run dry in many areas, what would be the economic impact on the city? And I think this is really a critical question that we weren't able to answer or get to because there wasn't enough base data or analysis done already. Because I believe personally that this asset that we have, this natural asset, is probably the most valuable natural asset in the country. More so than a copper mine, more so than a river. This underground water under Lusaka keeps the city alive, and without it, the city would die. And this city represents probably 40 to 50% of the country's economy. So you see how important this underground water is as a strategic natural asset.
All right, as we come to near close of the program, briefly outline some of the activities that will be taking place at the launch. I'll start with you, Mr. Farrington. Maybe Mr. Kibisa can pick it up from there.
Great. So at the launch, we're going to have some key reflections from the Mayor, from the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Development, Sanitation and Environmental Protection, as well as from the Vice Chair of the LUCI Secretariat. But it will also then get into some more panel-like discussions where councillors, community members will give testimonials about how this process has helped them, what it's improved in their lives, where they see it moving forward. So we're going to try and get a mix of the high-level, big picture, strategic view from those actors I mentioned, and then down to earth, what does it mean on the ground from the community members.
Mr. Kibisa.
Yeah, a lot of activities will happen, and the main activity actually is for us to do the launch is to look at the projects that can be done, a document and the drafts that has been done through the community engagement processes with the developments that have happened. So those are some of the key highlights that will come there to launch the agenda, what documents are there, what is the process, how can they access the plan itself, and those are some of the key highlights that will be highlighted.
For Lusaka residents across the city, the launch of this water security agenda means invigorated efforts to achieve water security and provide meaningful opportunities for effective engagement and empowerment around their own development. Any votes or any remarks as we are closing today's program? I'll start with you, Mr. Kibisa, and perhaps Mr. Farrington will also give us his last remarks.
For me, I think it's the Lusaka Water Security Initiative. It has been a good platform for us to engage throughout the process of the WASIP, that is the Water Security Action and Investment Plan. A lot of lessons have been learned on how we can do things differently and on where we should be. And the talk now is forward-looking. So for me, I would like to thank all the partners who have participated, public, private, and the international community, in terms of technical support, financial support, and even other resources, including the communities who have participated in the process throughout the engagements that have happened.
All right, Mr. Fellington.
So from my side, a really big thank you to DFID from UK Aid. The British government has given a lot of support to Lucy over the last 5 years and to this process especially, as have the German Development Cooperation through the German Embassy here. There's been a lot of support on the funding front, and with that, none of this would be here. So we have to be very grateful to the funders as well.
All right, thank you to you, the listener, the panelist, and everyone who has made this program possible, particularly the DFID and GIZ for financially supporting this program. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to us, watching us on Facebook, and for those of you who've commented on what we're talking about, thank you very much. And I pray that you've learned one or two things from this. I have to say my bye-bye.